The ATM goes, Derrick, you got to come over here. We got a guy with a gun, Steven Seagal. So I said, oh, shoot, Steven Seagal.
Right. Let me ask you the last thing about this individual, Keefe D.
Keefe D. What would you like to know?
As far as we know, he was set. His bail was set.
$750,000?
I think somewhere around that area.
Well, with Keefe D, listen, again, for the people that are listening and watching this, he was one of 4 people that were in the car when Tupac was killed. I was out there, and all these people that they claim and they tell you about Tupac, right? I wasn't there in the issue when he got shot.
Right.
Okay? I came after the fact to work with their organized crime division to try to get information on the Bloods and the shootings and Suge and everything else when it happened back then. A lot of these guys were not there. It's just like in the Biggie Smalls case. Greg Kading is a great guy, but he wasn't the first guy on the case.
Right. There was numerous.
There was, and it wasn't even robbery homicide. It wasn't even Russell Poole and
Frank.
Kading. It was the Wilshire detectives,
Right.
Edwards and Jackson, because I worked with them when that first happened. They came here. I went to Los Angeles, but they came here to work with me. They stayed here for about 2 weeks with me, and I took them around to talk to everybody. This is before robbery homicide, before Greg Kading, before anybody. So just to show you, to go back on these cases, how far we go back and who was there. When the Tupac case happened, again, I was there with this guy, Paul Page. He's probably, I don't know if he's still with the Las Vegas Metro, but he was an organized crime, and he and I were working together to try to put some information and some evidence together against the people that were responsible for shooting Tupac. It didn't really work out back then, and I had to come back for the fight, the next Tyson fight, because when the MGM had the problem, they wanted us to come back, and I had to go back and work with the ATF. And we had a whole big task force of guys. And while we were down there, and this is what everybody doesn't know, while we were down there back then, we stopped several people, because I think there was Atlanta homicide, Washington, D.C. homicide, Detroit. I was from New York, Oakland ATF. You had Las Vegas. You had Los Angeles. We had a lot of different components down there. Right. And we arrested several people, some guys with guns that came from, there was a guy wanted in Washington or in Detroit for drug conspiracy. We locked up a lot of people. And one of the guys we stopped, there's always a funny story I tell people, was Steven Seagal. He came in and the ATM goes, Derrick, you got to come over here. We got a guy with a gun, Steven Seagal. So I said, oh, shoot, Steven Seagal, I got to go over there. Right. And we're over there, and Steven Seagal, you can tell he's a little annoyed. But he has an LAPD cop that's his bodyguard, that's with him. And they found a gun on him. So they wanted the ATF, the Oakland ATF guy wanted to lock him up. Oh, but he was paired with me, and I was like, no, we're not going to do that. Because we were like, I was like one of the lead guys. And I was like, listen, Mr. Seagal said, where are you from? Where are you from? And then we all start talking about what cities we're from. I said, I'm from New York. He said, let me talk to you privately. So he pulled me to the side and he said, you know Ralphie Seferello? I said, yeah, I know Ralphie. Ralphie is a good guy. That was his detective friend in New York that made your case. I said, no, Ralphie. He said, yeah, Ralph's my friend. What's going on here? Why am I being harassed? Why are you guys going all out? And I explained to him what happened at the Tupac thing at the MGM. This is a next Tyson fight that happened, and this is why we're here, and blah, blah, blah. And this was all before all these people got involved. There was none of these detectives that you heard or knew before. But again, not taking anything away from any of them. They came after the fact. Like Greg knows more about the Biggie and Tupac than most people, because it's in his neighborhood. That's his territory. Right. I know a lot about it too, because there were certain things that he didn't know that I told him when he came here to interview me years ago with some other detectives.
Along with Darren Dupree, right?
Darren was in them, and an older or female detective. And that's I'm talking about maybe 20 years ago. Wow. But actually, no, not 20, maybe less than that, maybe like 15 years ago. Because I was retired, I was in my office in the city, and the female detective said, I didn't know all of that. I didn't know this, I didn't know that. They didn't know about Zip and all these other people. And I said, yeah, I know about all these people, So, because you got to remember, this is my backyard. And I have to know what's going on in my backyard. And I got to tell you a funny Zip story, because for the viewers who know who Zip is, Zip was so-called